Welcome to Glow State. I'm your host, Courtney Page. As a former executive recruiter, career coach, actor, and yoga teacher, I'm demystifying how people have designed the creative career and life that was meant for them, and how you can too. Now, for this week's episode, let's get glowing. Our guest today is the incredible Rayana Schmitz of Fire Finish Interiors, a thriving full-service interior design firm located in South Florida. Rayana was in fire school, yes, fire school, to become a firefighter when she began refinishing vintage furniture as a side job with a close friend. For more than 4 years, her business grew as she built her own home, designing the interiors as she went, and that home became her first portfolio project and was the catalyst for her career as an interior designer. And her business took off, and she currently has over 11,000 followers on Instagram. Her business is booming, and I can tell you from experience as her first client that she is a joy to work with. Rayana, thank you for coming on.
Hi, Court. Thank you for having me.
I also want to mention that I had to convince Rayana a lot to come on. She did not want to do this.
Yes, I understand. She was sweating and wondering what was she thinking.
No, she was like, I'm shy. I don't want to do it, but I'll work through it and I'll do it. So I'm very grateful. So I found Rayana because Paulo, my husband, and I were looking at houses for sale. We were living in an apartment and we were like, we need a yard for at the time, our dog, our only child dog. Now we have 2 human children. We were like, we really need a yard for him. And we found this house on Zillow and we walked through it. And it was right around the time that Joanna Gaines was really big. Like she was super, super trendy. And it was like fixer-upper everywhere, like shiplap everywhere. And we were obsessed with it. We were so obsessed with it. And we walked into this house and we were like, what? This is insane. This is like walking into an HGTV dream. And I think you were there and you were talking because you're Brazilian and my husband's Brazilian. And he like immediately somehow was like, oh, are you Brazilian? And you were like, yeah, I also own this house and I'm selling it. And we were like, oh my gosh. And you ended up making our dining room table for us, which is still being used today. There's a lot of kid evidence on there right now, but it's very durable, I will say.
All right.
So I want to just say, yeah, Rayana's awesome. If you're in the South Florida area and you need design services, she's the place to go. What did you want to be when you were a kid? I want to go back to the beginning and see what was Rayana like as a kid. What did you want to do?
I can remember wanting to be a flight attendant, but nothing like that I was obsessed and that was I going to do it. But if I had to think of something that I remember. But as I thought about it, I just remember having this desire of owning something, like of having a business, like nothing specific. But I just remember that fire inside me that it was inside me and I never realized it then. But like just doing this little exercise, I'm like, I can remember that feeling. Having that desire.
Yeah, that's really great because that's a question in coaching that comes up a lot, whereas you don't really need to know the specific thing that it might end up being, but it's like the feeling that you're after.
Yes. And that's what I can remember, the feeling.
That's awesome. I love that because I think at the beginning of a career or even in the middle of a career, if you're pivoting or whatever, it's usually just that. It's usually just this weird kind of feeling and you're like, I don't know specifically what it is, but I know there's something.
And there is so much of it to the point that it's embarrassing for me when I think like when I talk business, there is so much of it that comes from feeling that because you talk to anybody about business, people are going to be talking about business plans and what are your 5-year goals and this and that. And to me, a lot of it is just, okay, it all comes like there isn't, I wouldn't say like a set plan. It feels like it's just like an, go with the flow kind of thing. But it's like just always following a certain, like it comes from inside. Like it's weird like that.
Yeah. It's intuition based more than like strategy based. Yeah. That's great to know because I think part of being an entrepreneur is having that creative fire. And I think a lot of creatives don't necessarily work well or really feel comfortable in that kind of like business framework and that
Correct.
very like rigid. So it's nice to know that you are doing this incredible thing and working from this kind of place of flow as opposed to let's check all the boxes off, because that's hard to create in that kind of rigidity. I don't know, for me.
For sure. Yeah. Anytime I try to put myself in that box, I'm like, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how a business is. You need to have a business plan. You need to have a 5-year goal. You need to have this. Now, of course, there are some principles that it's very helpful to follow, and we do follow. But anytime I try to put myself within a box, then it's not good. I just like you stop because that's just not how my mind works.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I want to backtrack a little bit. When you were growing up, and you were going through school and everything, we mentioned you're Brazilian. Were you born in Brazil and you came here, or were you born here?
I was born in Brazil and I lived there too. I was almost 21.
Okay.
So right now I'm like half there, half here. I'm like, I lived half of my life in Brazil and here.
Yeah. What were you doing in Brazil?
I left young. So I was still going through school. I went to physical education. I graduated in physical education. So while I was there, I was a fitness trainer. And that's when I moved in here. Came because my dad was in the military. So the whole family came. So that's what I did. I was a fitness trainer in the US for a little bit.
Okay. And where did fire come from?
Wow.
That's so crazy. I don't even know how to ask that question.
Yeah. So I met my husband, which was my then boyfriend, and he kind of talked me into it. And I liked everything that I ever did. I liked the firefighting. I liked the fitness training. I liked doing the furniture. Like all of it. I really enjoyed it. So I don't know if I feel like such a hippie. Like when I speak about my life, I like to think that I got my shit together, but it's just that. So I was happy doing the fitness training thing, but it didn't feel like a career, even though, again, when I was thinking about all the things that we were going to talk about, I was like, I think when I did go into physical education and I'm like, okay, I'll be a fitness trainer. The idea was really okay, I'll have my own gym. So there was always like the business side of it. But anyways, I was with my boyfriend there, and then he talked me into, he's a firefighter. So he talked me into fire school because then you have a career path, like good benefits and all of that. So that's how I got into fire.
That I just think, to me, when I think of somebody who wants to be a firefighter, that's like a childhood thing that like a little kid says, I want to be a firefighter. Yeah, and you kind of just, and you kind of just went into it. And so I'm curious to know how that experience was for you, because you said you liked it, and what was the catalyst for leaving?
I really enjoyed it. I think I like dealing with people, even though I say, I'm shy, I'm an introvert, but I do like people just in general. So I like that. Of course, there's a part that you're helping somebody in their hardest times of their lives. And it's exciting. It's different. Every day you go in and you don't know what you're going to get. Like you could have a very slow shift and not do nothing. And then you could have a shift that you don't stop and barely eating. And the different calls, everything is always different. So it is definitely like very interesting, like not boring. So I really enjoyed because of that. And then the business took off. So that's really what happened. And we had a little one then. Even though I did have a great schedule, 2 days off and 1 day on, those 2 days that I was off, I was just trying to catch up with business, whether it was the furniture or the interior design. So it just got to a point that was like, there's no way I can do it all. And it's funny because I remember most people, anybody that I did talk to about leaving fire to pursue, we already had this furniture business going, but nothing like worth me leaving my career as a firefighter to go do furniture. That's crazy. Anybody that I talked to, like close friends, my family and whatnot, that I was like, oh, I'm thinking about leaving. Of course, everybody said, you're crazy. Like, it's just so hard to get into fire. You're in a good, like, I had 3.5 years, a little over 3.5 years in already. Like, why would you leave for something that, like, it's not even there yet? And I enjoyed both. I thought I was good with either one. But then when I really thought, I'm like, okay, if you told me tomorrow that I could not do fire anymore, I'm like, okay, I liked it, but okay, I can't do that anymore. But if you told me like, okay, Rayana, you chose fire, you cannot do furnishings or you can't do the interior design, then I'm like, okay, I'm not okay with that. Okay. And that's what I'm like, okay, that's the decision. If I can't live without, even though I enjoyed both, this is the path that I'm going to take. And I never looked back.
Yeah, that's a great way to make a decision. Like, how would my life be without it?
I don't think it always works like that.
Yeah.
It worked then.
Yeah. And you had a little, Caden was really little. How old was he when you left fire?
I think 6 years, 7 years
Yeah,
old.
so he was little. Okay, so let's talk about furnishings a little bit. So that was kind of the first service that you mentioned to us. And we were like, oh yeah, Paulo had this dream of having this giant table. And you were like, I think he mentioned it to you and you were like, I can make that. We were like, okay. But how did you come to be so skilled in would you call it carpentry? What do you call it?
I don't know. What would you call it?
I think it's carpentry. I don't know.
It is. But it's just like now that I know so much more about like higher end furniture and how it's made, not that I had no clue before. So I'm like, it is. At the end of the day, you're working with wood, right? I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You were creating something out of wood and nailing it together. And So where did that come from? Like, where did that interest come from? And how did you like cultivate that skill?
Yeah, so that's funny. Like while I was going to fire school, the whole furnishing side really happens. I started to refinish furniture. Back then, like we started in the beginning. So, and I did it for myself. Like I just bought, I don't know if I went to Goodwill, if I went to Craigslist or whatever it was, like I bought a $50 piece and then I refinished at home and I left it at the house. And then eventually, but it was addicting. So I was just like, okay, let me buy another one. But there is only so much furniture one can use in their own house. So I'm like, okay, like back then, Craigslist was the thing. So I'm like, oh, let me put one up for sale. And it's sold. I'm like, oh, nice. And then I'm thinking, because the idea was always like, okay, I'll go into fire. Most firefighters will have a second job just because of their schedule, have so much time off. I'm like, I'll go into fire and then I'll do fitness training on the side. I have a few clients and I'm good. When I started doing the furniture and then a couple pieces sold, I'm like, oh, how could it be to just do this on the side, go into fire, sell a couple pieces, make $500 extra a month, and I'm good. That was the idea. But then little by little, just the business kept growing. And I don't know how I got into building. I remember one night staying up. That's when blogs were just starting and all of that. And then I found this whole world of DIY. And because it's not a culture, I think it's a very cultural thing in here. And it's not a thing that like in Brazil, like most people are not painting their own like rooms. Like people just don't do their own thing because the service industry is just so cheap in there.
Okay.
So it's not something that like I never saw my dad fixing anything. Like you need you need to change a light, you call an electrician. You need to paint a room, you call the painter. So like everything is like this. So I found this whole new world, like people doing their own thing. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So I think like the next day, I remember Michael was on shift. And then the next day I'm like, hey, we need to go to Home Depot and we need to buy this piece of wood. We need to cut to this. And so he's helping me. Like I had never held a power tool or anything. So that's how it started. So I started building stuff. And then the funny thing is that I remember the first time I put up for sale something that I was selling. I was like so embarrassed is not really the word, but I should say I did it. Yeah. I said, oh, I have first I was telling there was a guy. Oh, I have a cop friend of mine that built it and I had it. I would not say that like I did it. Like, I don't know.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
That's how it started. And then the business just grew from there.
Okay. No, she said that. And now I'm just like, now I have this whole business and a team and now I'm here. No, that's not.
Okay.
So you were doing that and then building furniture is one thing. Designing and interior design is different. So how did you bridge that? Like when did you start to do interior designs after you sold that first piece of furniture? Did you have a lot of furniture that you were then selling or was it like one or two and then you were like design?
I mean, this is exactly what happened. We had clients like you that had already either done the furniture or knew of us because of furnishings, like even if they hadn't worked with us. So we had nothing crazy, but we did have a following and we were building our house. So when we built this house, we went to sell the other house, which now, like when you told me like, oh, join it, like I cringe. Oh my gosh, like I look at pictures, I'm like, this can never be revealed.
No, but it was so for the moment, it was very on the moment. Yeah.
Very on that moment, if you will. Yeah. So there were quite a few people that came in and they said the same thing you said. I don't know if that's how it went, but like, it was like, oh, even if we don't end up buying the house, would you like consider designing for us? I'm like, of course, but not thinking anything of it, just thinking like you're here, then you're going to forget about me. But a few people came through like you. And then once I had 2 or 3 projects under the belt, I decided to put it on because I really enjoyed it. So I put it on our page. Okay, we're offering interior design and like little by little, people just started coming. And then the furnishing was it was hard work. Like we didn't have a shop. I was like building out back. My house faced west, like summer. And like it was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so when we started picking up more design jobs, I'm like, okay, I like this. I'll say no. So I decided like I was still firefighting. So then I was like interior design, doing furniture and firefighting. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a couple months break from the furniture just to breathe a little and just do the two. And I never went back to the furniture.
I see. Okay. All right. So then it took off. Yeah. So other than the fact that it was really easier in the sense, physically easier than creating and making furniture, what about interior design is so exciting for you?
Everything, almost everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the process that is not fun. I think it's being able to create. There's so many things that I see that I want to do that it comes up like that, like pieces, whether it's like a lighting fixture or like an awesome detail that you saw somewhere they'd like to implement in a different way. My house is only so big, so it's nice.
So you can only always change it. So many lighting fixtures in it.
Yeah. So that's what is nice. Like a lot of times I'm like, we'll go to market and I'll see a piece and you just save it like somewhere in the back of your mind. I'm like, one day I want to use this piece, and you need to wait for the right project, the right client, the right space to be able to use. So that's what it is. Like you're always like with different clients, different projects, you're able to like get it out of your system. Oh, I can't wait to use this. Use it once one way. I'm like, oh, I love it like this. And then you might use it another time. And then you're like, okay, I got it out of my system.
One thing that I always think is really interesting with designers, and I don't really know how to phrase this, but I'll just give you an example. So my sister-in-law right now, she's in Nashville. She's putting an addition onto her house and they're using a designer to help with the furniture and interiors and all of that. And my brother-in-law was saying, he was like, I think it's kind of like the designer's supposed to take your vision and create it. But then you also see designers with really specific styles, right? So how do you blend that? Do people come to you mainly because they already see your work and they like your style and they have an idea? Or is it they come to you and have no idea and just kind of give you free rein? How do you balance what a client wants with your style? Or do you even have a style? Are you just really into giving the client whatever they're envisioning?
I think like in the beginning, it was more like we would get a lot of different styles, a lot of clients with different styles. And it's exciting because you're not always doing the same thing. But I think like now we honed in a certain style, which we've established ourselves. Like we have a certain look and feel that they see on our portfolio. So they do come for that. Like we always ask for inspiration pictures from clients before we start on a project. And I'm like, okay, the client will say, oh, I just love everything that you do. Like anything on your Instagram. I'm always like, oh, wow, I love this. I would love to live there. And I just say, okay, but go through Instagram because there are little nuances that the client might feel like it's all the same, but it's not. Like we do have clients that lean a little bit more transitional or a little bit more modern. So based on that, I think our signature would be like introducing like sculptural pieces. I like interesting things. I can't just be like, it's hard for me to design in that way. So I think that's how we introduce ourselves within the project. So like we do get the vision from the client, but like this is how like we make it ours. So there's always going to be something interesting, like different, like sculptural in the room. Doesn't matter what style. I didn't answer your question very well.
You did. No. Yeah. Because I think when I sent you over some of the things, for me, I think if you walk into Target now, Justina Blakely, or I don't know if that's her name. I think that's her name. Justina Blakely. Yeah. She's got this cool boho, colorful kind of cactusy desert thing. And it's so specific. And there are like big designers with very specific styles.
I would say that definitely like now clients are looking at our portfolio, feeling comfortable and liking what they see. And then we'll go from there. Like it's not just so much where they come in and they have this thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't live in there like myself. It's always, I'm like, okay, now it is something that it's close to what I like, we really embrace within our firm. So it makes it a little bit easier for us too. And it's exciting to work on something that you're like, I'm attracted to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that I was like, it would be really hard to design a space that you don't want to be, that you, the designer, wouldn't even want to inhabit.
And styles that I can appreciate. But like, I like color, but by looking on Instagram, you'd think that maybe I like blue, but it just happens that like the clients that come to us, most of the time they're asking for like pretty neutral rooms. And when they do want color, it's the blue. Like
that's funny.
Maybe wondering. Yeah. I would love to do a project with color and all of that, but it's just hard because if someone wants to, someone that does color, they're going to look at Justina's Instagram and they're going to reach out to her, not to me.
Right. Yeah. So that begs the question, how did you hone in on your specific style? Because you started.
I'm there yet.
I think you are. I'm obsessed with your Instagram. Like Paula and I are always like, oh, Rayana. But let's go back, not to make you cringe again. I don't want to keep making you cringe, but starting from the place of 2014, Joanna Gaines' farmhouse was a huge trend. I still see it in Target. I spend a lot of time in Target, as you can tell.
It sounds like it.
It's my safe haven from my children. No. So going from that style, which you nailed, what was the progression to where you are now, which is, if people aren't familiar with you, in my mind, it's like high end, like you said, sculptural, kind of neutral, clean, but also cozy. That's what I think of. Those are the words that are kind of educated.
Yeah, I like that. Anytime someone asks me, so I'm like, okay, what's your style? I'm like, I haven't found the word for it. Yeah, I think the closest thing, like just up design styles that you'd see like on a list. Okay, pick one would be like a California coastal, but I don't think that's it. I think there is a lot of twisting there. So that's why I haven't found the word. But those are all words, the ones that you used to describe that I would agree. How did I get here? I think designing, it's like the practice of designing. So every time you do a project, and there's just so much that accessible, like we get bombarded through Instagram, Pinterest, all of those, like the 300 magazines that I receive, like shelter magazines that I receive a month. And you see these big name designers and you're looking, I think it's just by, I wouldn't say I study, like not consciously, but like just by seeing higher end design. So if I'm seeing everything I'm seeing, like farmhouse, Joanna Gaines and all that, like I translated that. I'm exposed to so much more on a higher level. And also what really helps is like little by little, like the level of budgets and clients that come to you, then you're able to show what you really can do. If you have a $10,000 living room, can you do with that? Now you have $100,000 living room. Like there's a lot more room for you to show what you really can do.
Yeah.
So it comes at both, not only like the exposure and to higher end design, but also the bigger projects and better clients.
Yeah, and that is more expensive. Yeah, that is also a question because I think anybody who's starting a business, the ideal client is probably the one that will pay more. And you were helping Paulo and I in our 3-bedroom. It was like a little tiny ranch. I think it was like 1,600 square feet. We were like one of your first clients. Now you're designing these, I don't even know the square footage of these houses, but they look really big. And it's just a much bigger scale to be able to, like you said, show your can really do.
And I don't think it's so much the scale, but let's say back then I'm like, oh my gosh, the client, like high end for me, it was like pottery barn. Because also I didn't grow up around design. I didn't grow up like with lots of money and I didn't know what was high end. I didn't know, like I said, high end pottery barn. How much higher end can get, you know what I'm saying? So like it started like this and then you show the pottery barn couch and then like you get a client that buys the restoration hardware table. And so like little by little, even at my house, I'm like, okay, I don't want to buy the pottery barn chairs. And by then I started to source from trade vendors. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to buy this stuff that like, and that's how like going back to how you honed in my style, how it evolved. It's that I'm like, okay, I don't want to be using the pieces that everybody's using. Like, where can I go to get more unique pieces? So it's that. And I started bringing it into my own house because, okay, I might not have the client that is ready for something that it's different or something that is a little bit more expensive. But let me try it's the win-win. I get to redo my house and get pieces that I love.
Yeah.
And I get to attract better budget projects because of that. Because then the clients are able to see, okay, she's not just working with the entry level projects. She's working on a higher level. I can get trade furnishings from trade sources. She will be able to source those as well, like custom pieces, all of that.
Yeah. It's almost do it yourself versus somebody.
And there's a client for everybody. Like you're going to find that. Yeah. So it's fun to be able to get the bigger jobs and like clients come to us and they love clients, they love telling me like, oh my gosh, I had so-and-so at the house and they're asking me like, where is this from? And like, I have no idea. So they like this stuff that is different. Like they're investing on a design. They wanted to feel unique, to express themselves and feel like it's something different.
Yeah. And I think that is very true. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, there's a Friends episode from like forever ago. And I think it was like when Pottery Barn started to get really big. One of the characters, Phoebe, is like against Pottery Barn because everybody's house ends up looking the same. The end of the episode it just reaffirmed that. Yes, everybody's house ends up looking the same. And it's kind of true. I have experienced that in real time. And it's kind of cool to be able to, I think, what I was getting from what you were saying is being able to show people a full-on design that's finished with pieces that they've never seen before. That opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for them because you don't know what you don't know almost. It's kind of what you're saying.
Correct. And so many times clients, like when we do our presentation, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is so beyond what I could even imagine. So they think because we ask for inspiration pictures, so they send a few things, but like when we get the look and feel they are going for, but in a totally different way they would ever imagine, that's really cool to hear.
Yeah. You have said that you like people, but you're an introvert, I guess. I don't want to like label you as such if you don't feel that way. But she said she was shy when I was trying to convince her to come on here. And she was like, I'm shy. I don't want to do this. But you're really good with people. And this is like a very client facing thing that you're doing. How do you manage being on the shyer side with always running a business in and of itself is very interpersonal. Yeah. How do you kind of cope with that as somebody who kind of self-identifies as shyer on the shyer side?
I like people. So I guess that's that. So I have no problem talking to clients, talking to vendors or whatever it is, GCs, whatever it is, I have no problem. But you won't see me on social media doing a video of myself. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was like, okay, that's a little bit more.
Why?
But I'm just so self-conscious. But I think like it's 90% of the population doesn't feel comfortable. That's a number I'm making up. But like most people don't want to be like on social media. Hey, that's me. I think, right? No, my sister, she's great at it. She's insanely good with all of this stuff. And she did like an event where she was like like MC. This person speaking. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she's, oh my gosh, I found my calling. You know? It's just that. I think like me saying that I'm shy and I don't want to be on social media doing selfies. I think that most people are going to say I'm not shy, but I also don't like that. But I'm definitely like, I'm not going to come if there's a party. I'm not going to come out and, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Like let's get together. Like I won't start a conversation like that. So that's where I say, oh, I'm shy. And I mean, on social media, forget about it. But I definitely
a crazy following on social media. To me, that's, I want to talk about that because that's like the first question people come up against when they're starting a business. Okay, we have to have an Instagram page. And now, I don't know, TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is, but Instagram is huge. It's free marketing, right? How did you do that? How did you grow on social media without being on social media? Sounds like a bit of a...
They've probably grown a lot more if I wasn't social, you know?
You think?
That's the truth. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can show your face. At least that's what they say.
You have 11.1 thousand followers. That's crazy. Yeah. That's amazing.
That's good. It is. But I do believe that if I was showing up my face, that I probably would be...
Okay, maybe. But what was the formula that you used or have used in order to get to this point without having to, because not everybody wants to be on social media, but it's kind of a necessary evil. So if you had advice for someone who's same as you, I don't really want to be on there like showing my face and doing all the things and quote unquote influencing or whatever, but I know I need to use this incredible tool. What would you tell them? What advice would you have?
I think it's being consistent. A few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I said, I'm going to post every week, at least 4 times a week. And that's what I did. So like we post every week, not as consistent with stories. Like some weeks are good, some weeks are not, but we definitely post at least 4 times a week.
Pictures of your project.
Correct.
Okay. So not of you, but that's the point though. Like pictures of your project and then you do a little description of what it is or just even a little caption or something. Yeah. So
I'm not one to share, even like I don't have a private Instagram, but like Facebook, I'm not sharing anything in there. I haven't posted anything like in years. Maybe sometimes I would just share from my business page to my personal Facebook, but like to find a picture, you'll find pictures of my family in there, but like from years ago. Like I'm just
like private.
Yeah, I guess like nobody needs to know where I'm going, when I'm coming, and then who I'm going with. I'm like, no, leave me alone. Even though I will show my face when it's okay. We went on on vacation. Clients know that I'm out of town, and that's when I feel comfortable. Okay, let me show a picture of my family and I. Like that will do. But how often do I go on vacation? So.
How often do you go on vacation?
Actually, I'm being a little better about it.
Okay, good.
Weeks Brazil, so you see my face.
Oh, nice. Cool. I did see some video that looked very well produced on your page, and I thought you were in it. You were like in a yellow top, and I think it was your house, but I don't know. Maybe it was a client's house.
Oh, it's a picture. There is a picture.
It's a picture? Okay. Yeah. I thought there was a video. And I was like, oh, I think she is. Yeah.
I know. If it's this still picture, I've had that picture, oh my gosh, for at least 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like I did a photo shoot, headshot all over.
No. Okay. I just want to talk a little bit about, I kind of want to keep going with this. So I think imposter syndrome is something that I like to ask a lot of entrepreneurs about, because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And if not everyone, if you don't, then amazing. But I know a lot of people who do personally. Is that something that you struggle with or did struggle with and you kind of got through, or is it like a daily struggle?
Yeah, daily struggle for sure.
Is it? Yeah.
For sure.
How do you kind of deal with that if you do?
Yeah.
I just shove it down.
It's hard with social media.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like you think you're doing good and you hear, but client's happy. Like you see it and you feel like, oh, it's so pretty. And then you look, I'm like, oh my gosh, but is it as good as this? Is it as good as that? Is it as, so it's definitely, it's hard. Of course, some days are better than others. And then,
you just live with it. Kind of. Good.
I figure that one out.
Okay.
You let me know if you do.
I don't know. How do you deal with kind of goes along with imposter syndrome, but a little different expectations from clients or expectations from yourself? How do you deal with living up to those or kind of like letting them go and managing expectations? Let's talk about that. How do you deal with managing the expectations of clients?
It's extremely hard because I'm so hard on myself. Oh my gosh, I won't let go. The client might be fine. I won't let go. And it's crazy because like I can't rationalize it. I'm like, it's not a big deal. I'm not here like saving lives. Yes, it is important. I want the client to have a good experience, but at the end of the day, we're going to figure it out, whatever it is. It still makes me sick. We try to set the expectation for clients, knowing that like, okay, it's a renovation. It doesn't matter how much we plan, stuff's going to go wrong. You're going to get upset. You're going to be tired of spending money. It doesn't matter how we do it. Of course, we try to do it, make it the experience as possible, but we know there are going to be hiccups. But as far as even when the stuff goes wrong, it doesn't matter how little or how big it is. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of, I want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, it doesn't matter how little. I can't think of any specific like little one, but it's stupid. It could be like, oh, why didn't I order the knobs? And now the client doesn't have knobs for to use. I'm like, why didn't I? So simple. Why didn't I think of that 2 months ago?
Yeah.
But I won't let go. I'm like, I can rationalize and say, I'm really, you're going to lose sleep over this. It's not a big deal. You learned your lesson.
Like perspective.
Yeah. But so definitely something I'm working on. But we do try to set expectations for clients so they know.
Yeah, because I know just in general, just like a general knowledge thing is construction, like building your own home as opposed to buying one is just total. There's so much that can happen and there's so many unknowns. Yeah. And kind of similar with remodels. There's just so many things unforeseen things that happen, like that you personally as the designer have no control over. You don't have a crystal ball. You couldn't see that.
Correct.
So,
and the thing is exactly what you said. Our work depends on so many other like people, and there's so little that we can control. I can control that your furniture is going to fit if I measure right. I can control that it's going to look good if everything is as we present it. But I can't control if the tiler is going to be good, if the furniture is going to show up on time, if the guys who are going to pick up the furniture from whatever the manufacturer is, once they transfer to the other truck, if they're going to drop it or not. And then the furniture that you were waiting for 6 months is going to come damaged. And then you are upset because you waited 6 months for something that now it's damaged. Like we can control so much of the design. Yeah. There's so little that we can control. So it's definitely... It's tough. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard because like at the end of the day, we are the ones facing the clients. So like, it's easy for a contractor to call me like, hey, I can't show up tomorrow. My truck is broken. I'm like, oh, the furniture is running like 2 months longer than expected. Because I mean, they're dealing with us, like, but
Right.
you're the client facing. So it's definitely hard. It's gotten better, but like during COVID, it was extremely hard because it's just like you're just always delivering bad news. There was nothing good to tell a client. Like, hey, okay, I have this client that I need to deliver 2 bad news, and I have that other one. It's just it's understanding because we do set the expectation from up front, but nobody want to hear it. Okay, like it start to sound like excuse. Okay, bad news after bad news. So it's definitely like not a good place.
Yeah, I do remember that with COVID because we moved into our house in 2021. And so we ordered a bunch of furniture and it took forever. And it was frustrating. We didn't work with you because it was COVID and I was pregnant all of COVID. But so we were like very closed off. But yeah, I do remember ordering stuff and we were both like, this is crazy. And we did think about, we were like, I wonder how Rayana's doing. This is insane. Like it was like a year wait for some pieces.
For sure.
It was nuts. Okay. So what is next for Fire Finish? What's next for Rayana?
I'm really I've been wanting for a long time to open up a shop or something. I don't know if it's online, if it's a place. The concept is definitely like to have a destination kind of a place where you do find like different stuff. Like you can feel like all the same stuff that you might find around here. I've been traveling to Brazil a lot and I've been to a couple like trade shows in there. So I've definitely seen pieces that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I've been able to already bring in some smaller pieces, like more like artwork and like sculptures and all of that stuff, because those are easily like shipped. But I mean, I've seen so many good and different and fun stuff out there, so definitely that's the next thing. But like, I'm trying to figure out how to get there. Because also that's the next thing, but that's a business on itself. And then I'm also running a business first. So how can I?
I know. Yeah, I know. We won't even get into. I was going to ask you about that, but I think you just answered it. That actually brings up something. So with Brazil, is that something that you try to kind of infuse into your work? Is it important to you to bring that in to your designs?
I think it's been part of that evolution on the aesthetics. I didn't used to go to Brazil as much. And then especially during COVID, forget about it. And I would visit family and that was it. But like since really last year that I've been going like 4 times last year, my sister got pregnant. That's how it always started. Okay. So my first niece, I'm like, I'm going in. So, and then I started doing research. I had done it before, but like on and off. And then I went to a trade show this year. And I've been able to, of course, like now it's a lot easier. So I've been able to contact people through WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever it is. And that's how I was able to bring in a few things. I'm always getting emails from contacts that I did back then. So like now I'm like, furnishing is a little bit different. Like it's a bigger animal and I need to figure it out. Yeah. But now that I have used a few pieces and I've definitely like clients loved it. And I love having something that is just like, it's going back to, I like to infuse that thing that nobody has seen before. Yeah. I'm definitely trying to make a point. And it's nice. Like it's kind of going like full circle and going back to my roots.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I was always curious to know if you would ever do your own line of furniture.
I'd love that. I love that. That's like in the same, a shop and then maybe some custom furniture.
Yeah.
Once they figure out with this whole AI thing, once they figure out how to clone people, I'll be all set.
I feel like that's coming up soon. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Crazy. Okay. I have just a couple super fast questions and it's supposed to be fast. Rapid fire, but it doesn't, and there's no rules there. It doesn't actually have to be rapid fire, but okay. What advice would you give yourself, your younger self? And at what age would you give that advice?
I would still give myself today this advice, but back then it would be even better. Just to trust myself, trust my instinct and all that. Like it's never wrong. Like anytime you try to deviate from it, you don't listen. I should have. At any age, that's good. But like nobody's going to listen when you're a teenager. So
I know. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people say 14, 15, 16. I feel, and this is, I think, my 10th interview now, I think 10th or 11th. And yeah, that's like a lot of the time it's like that age, like around 15, like middle teen, like that. Yeah. But I kind of love that you're like self that. Yeah.
Something that I'm still like, I need to be reminded.
What is the best daily practice that you have for yourself right now and why? If you have one.
The answer should be yoga because I love it. My life is different when I do yoga. But I haven't been good about it. But I am. I totally changed my work schedule. So I always wake up super early And I used to work out early in the morning, but I changed it and I'm doing my workouts in the afternoon. And it's been great. Like I got a trainer every day at a certain time. I stop, I go to the trainer, and I think yoga is different and it's definitely necessary. And I love doing it, but I haven't been able to adjust my schedule to make it a routine out of it. But like it's definitely working out. Like I need something to like just keep me sane.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting very obsessed with morning routines because I'm just the worst morning person and I want to be one so
I'm the
badly.
best morning person.
You people with that weird,
but you know what's the problem? The morning is just so long. So like I do everything better in the morning, but I only have
the rest of the day. You're just like, what time? You said you woke up really, do you still wake up really early? Even though you're working
I wake up at 5. Yeah, I wake up at 5, but I always woke up at 5. I would do yoga, then go to the gym, and then start my work day. So about 3 months ago, I'm like...
Wait, you would do yoga and then go to the gym?
Then go work out and then start my day. Life is just better. Trust me.
I believe you. I believe you. Yeah.
Yeah. But bed is like maybe 9 o'clock, sometimes 8:45. Like there's no way.
What time do you fall asleep? This is the thing. People are always like, go to bed at 9. Oh, you do? Oh, wow. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
I sleep amazing. But about 3 months ago, I wanted to try a different routine because I've been working with she's not just a time management coach, but that's one of the things that she does. And that's how I wanted to be more of a productive coach. So I was trying to figure out how to better my schedule so I was more productive. Because even though I was working long hours, I felt I don't know, like it feels like a bunch of little stuff. And then at the end of the day, I didn't do anything. So I decided to try, and I like my morning. So I always like to work out in the morning first thing. This way it's done. Like I don't need to be suffering all day, and I still need to go work out. But I decided to try this new routine where I start working from home at 6 a.m. This way, like I'm home, I'm not at the office. There's nobody, there's no GC calling, no clients, no text, no nothing. Like everybody's even sleeping in my house. So like from 6 to 10, I work here. And then from 10 to 3, I'm at the office. So I'm getting 9 hours solid. In those 4 hours, I get so much work done because there's no distraction. But my struggle was like, at first, I'm like, I will work out from home. And then I'm at the office and I'm on the phone. I'm like, I can work out 15 minutes later. Or then I would get home and then a client calls. I'm like, let me just talk now. And then the company was 30 minutes later. So it was a struggle. So then finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a trainer. And it was the best thing I did because now the trainer is at 3:45. So it doesn't matter what's happening. Like all my schedule is done around that time. I'm like, okay, I can't schedule anything past 1 because I need to be done by 3 and I need to be there at 3:45. So I don't miss a day. It's perfect. I just need to work the yoga and that one's on the schedule.
Yeah. You should come to my class. I teach yoga in Delray.
No way. Really?
Yeah, it's a new studio. I'll tell you about it when we're done. I can tell you about it now. I'll let everybody know. It's Dandy Light Studio in Delray, and I teach on Sunday and Monday. You should come.
That's so cool.
Oh my gosh, you could probably like teach because you're so in shape. Oh my God, you would like. You would.
But I like mean yoga. I like lazy yoga. My yoga
nice.
Like for mental health. So, okay, sit here and lay for 5 minutes. That's my type of
restorative yoga. I love it. What is your pump up song of the moment, if you have one?
Oh my gosh. I'm the worst. I like silence. I
love that. That's awesome. That's like the best answer.
I'm the worst person ever. My husband loves music. My son loves music. It's not that I don't like music. Like I do, at least I'll listen to Brazilian music. But if I'm home, like they went away for 2-3 days. There wasn't a TV on. There wasn't a radio on. It's just kind of, that's my song, my hit.
That's like the best answer ever. And I feel like I can relate because from 4 to 7 in my house is just complete chaos. We have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. It's just the Frozen is blasting every day. It's so much stimulation. And the last 2 days we were like, let's just try to do like a no TV thing in the evening, like for as long as possible until there's like a complete meltdown and we just can't. And there was last night it didn't really work. The night before I was like, silent. Like they played. It was like this magic. I don't know if it's going to happen tonight. I can hear her out there. She's already freaking out. So I don't know, but I love that. Rayana, thank you for doing this. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you're like,
no, man, it was a pleasure. And I'm so glad that I did. And I'm really happy that you invited me.
Thank you so
really
much.
Happy for you too.
Thank you. And we're going to include in the show notes all of the things to find Rayana and her business if you're in need of any kind of design services. You also do e-design, right? So that would be...
Yes, we do offer e-design. Yes.
Yeah, which is really cool. All right, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Glow State. Please take a moment to subscribe to the show, and then be sure to share it with a friend you know who would love a little glow in their life. I'll see you next time. Now, go glow.